Hi there, students. Extent. Okay, extent is a noun. It's normally either countable and singular or uncountable. So extent, we use this for a lot of things. So extent, the degree, the scope, the range, the magnitude, the size, the area, the reach, the span, the scale of something. Okay, so let's see, we use this word in lots of different phrases. So to what extent do you think this is true? To what degree? So here the extent is the degree, the amount which something happens, the proportion of from 0 to 100%. I did not understand this matter to the extent of why it was being done. So I understood things, but to the degree, to the amount which there was some sort of rationalization for it, I didn't understand it. I'm thinking to the full extent of the law. So the extent of something, in this case, to the full extent, to the maximum extent. But we also use this to the extent of, meaning very strongly. So he felt so upset by this that he felt so upset to the extent of employing a lawyer to do something about it. There are some people that are so patriotic that they feel this patriotism to the extent of even giving their lives for their homeland. Okay? So to the degree that, so strongly that, okay, to the extremity of, okay, to the extent that something happens, to the degree that, business is bad this year, to the extent that we are going to have to lay off some staff. Yeah, Twitter is losing money to the extent that they are laying off staff right now. To some extent, partly, more or less. So this is true to some extent, partly. To some extent, he is to blame for what happened, but not completely. So to some extent, a part of it. To what extent? How much? Yeah. To what extent will we have to refurbish the building? Yeah. Are we going to have to do all of it, or some of it, or just a part of it? We're going to have to refurbish the building to the extent that we are going to have to take out absolutely everything. We're going to have to gut it completely. Yeah, the company is in great trouble to such an extent that it may go bankrupt. Yeah, so much that, to such an extent that, to the same extent, to the same amount, as much as. Okay, so this will affect all levels of society to the same extent, to the same degree. The storm damaged the coast and the inland to the same extent, so the damage in both parts was the same. Yeah, the degree in which it happened was the same. Okay, so the extent, the range, yeah, what is the extent of my responsibility? What is the scope of my responsibility? Okay, the extent of your responsibility is this, that, and that, but no more. Do you know the extent of the damage caused by the fire? Yeah, we still don't know the extent of the damage. Yeah, this covers the full extent of the coast, the whole thing, from the beginning to the end. Okay, this, the public transport system covers the full extent of the city. Yeah, all of the area, the area it covers, the full extent, the whole area. Okay, so there are all sorts of ways to use extent. It's the size or scale of something. Global warming is so important to the extent that if we don't do something, we're going to have great problems. I agree with you to some extent, but not completely. I agree with you to the extent that what was done to you was unfair. However, you also bear some responsibility in that, to the extent that you acted irresponsibly, to the degree that you did this. The extent, the area covered by something. The extent of the garden is 5,000 square meters. So the limits to which something extends, yeah? He will prosecute you to the full extent of the law, to the limits, to the greatest degree that is possible. Yeah, what is the extent of your jurisdiction? Okay, how far does it go? What does it cover? Okay, so yes, beyond this area of green land, there is an extent of desert, an area, an area. Yeah. There was a vast extent of parking space behind the house. Yeah, the limitless extent of space. Okay, so extent. It has quite an extent. The meaning of this word. Okay, so let's see. Extent, formality. I think I'm going to give it a 5.5. Sounds ever so slightly formal, but not very much. So I think the extent of possible usage is all situations. Use it informally, semi-formally, and very formally. And then as to origin, this comes through French from Latin, extendere. Yeah, out of, and tendo, to stretch. So it stretches out, the amount that something stretches out, and this is the idea of extent. Yeah, it comes from the verb to extend. It extends to these limits. So enough. If you enjoyed the video to any extent, give it a rating, subscribe to my channel, and I will see you soon. Bye for now. Extent, to the extent that, to such an extent that, to the extent which, to the extent to which. Okay, so enough. Bye.